morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Vaughn Lane. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in, and remember, we're only 65 days away from kickoff in Columbus, so be sure to tell us who your favorite 65 is. We'll revisit that in a little bit. And guys, before we move on to recruiting and everything else, I got to wish my wife a happy anniversary. Today's our 15th anniversary, so happy anniversary, Krista.
Wow, you made it 14 more than I was betting on, Blake.
We started the show with some kiss butt. That's nice.
That's right. You got to earn those brownie points, man.
Yeah, good job.
Hey, I've got to add this. Joshy Manning, if I read this correctly, yesterday we talked about him having a kiddo. Apparently, the kiddo's name is Joshy Manning Jr.
Nice.
He stepped out on a limb there.
After all our 150 suggestions,
there was no Arch Manning or Eli or Peyton. I think he went back to the well one more time.
That could be Joshy Arch Manning Jr.
Come on, at least a little, right?
Yeah, the middle name.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk recruiting this morning. Decisions, as you said, Jerry. What you got for us?
Well, by the way, y'all can tell by this show I did not copy Trey Johnson's draft outfit. I'm not wearing dress jorts to a show, which we'll get to that later. That's the worst outfit I've ever seen. I love Trey Johnson. That's the worst outfit I've ever seen at the draft. All right, we got upcoming decisions. I just wanted to get that disaster out of the way. Congrats on going to the Wizards. That'll make it a little better. All right, Xavier Crowell announcing today at 6 p.m. It's scheduled to be on local TV news station live during their sports. So that means it's 6:20, right? We've said before, look, this the way I approach this recruitment is think he's going to Alabama, and if Sark pulls an upset, then rejoice. But I can tell you this, Steve Sarkisian's personally involved in this recruitment. Texas is 100% all in on this recruitment. And if Texas doesn't win this, it's not for lack of effort, Bobby. I mean, this is one of those where if he picks Alabama, Texas did everything they could. And that's the way you want to be in recruiting. But I'll also see this as of this morning at 8:15, he had not called to inform anybody where he was going.
Yeah. I think that to put this lightly, the prevailing favorite is Alabama. Jerry and I are not here trying to tell you anything different. That being said, Texas ain't giving up. Texas wants this young man. And I think that Texas has spot for a single running back in this class, and that's who they've identified and honed in on. What will end up happening? We don't know. And Jerry's right. If we knew, we would tell you one way or the other. And at this time, we can't lead you down the path either way. We don't want to get your hopes up. At the same time, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens. There's other recruiting movement that we've talked about as well. Damari Simeon, the defensive lineman out of New Jersey. Looks like someone may have beat the Longhorns out on that one. We will just leave it at that for right now. But long story short, that's the defensive tackle out of New Jersey. He's expected to announce his decision on Friday. Samari Matthews, there have been some RPMs and crystal balls go in for him. That's the cornerback out of North Carolina towards Texas. There's a lot of movement, and Jerry showed that, and Blake showed that list. The bottom line is there is so much movement right now in recruiting, it's ridiculous. And I'm not trying to Jerry may have some breaking news right now. What are you saying, Jerry?
I'll just say bring the graphic up, and I'll just go through everything real quick.
Okay, that's crazy.
All right, so Chase Calicut, obviously Georgia or Texas. Look, I'll say this. On all these guys, Xavier Crowell, Texas was talking to him and his family last night. These things are ongoing. I'm sure they'll talk again this morning. Chase Calicut, Georgia or Texas, that thing's gone back and forth. Malachi Lee, I think some Michigan lean. They had discussions with Texas last night. I'm sure there'll be one more discussion today. Damari Simeon. We're also getting to the point in recruiting where if somebody says, if one school says, oh, we need to go get a D tackle, right? Then boom, then things can change a little bit. Damari Simeon, I think, is not going to end up at Texas. Then you go down the list. James Johnson on the 28th to the right of Damari Simeon. I know a lot of people are putting in Georgia picks. Texas talked to them multiple times yesterday. They will talk again. And that one is, we'll see which way it goes at the end of the day. Xavier Griffin on June 29th there. I think Texas is doing pretty well in that one right now. And we'll see if Alabama can kind of upset Texas, because I kind of think that's where that it would be a small upset if Alabama took out Texas right now. Again, that's 3 days away though. So we'll see if it changes. See Kendall Gerville there on July 2nd. I think Texas is doing well there. Trenton Henderson, Texas is in that, but I think Florida's the favorite. Kosi Okpala, we've said Texas is the favorite. Bryce Perry Wright is that one ain't happening after Richard Wesley committed to Texas. John Turntine, that's Texas, Michigan, top 2. I think there's confidence in Austin. Caden Finley, will it be Notre Dame or Texas? Jalen Lott, I don't expect to be Texas. Lamar Brown will be a December and out. His recruitment will go through December no matter what happens. And some people say, well, wouldn't all of them? Yeah, but there's some that more so than others. Jamarian Carlton, Texas is in a good position on that one right now. Announced on the 10th. Bobby mentioned Smoke Matthews, Samari Matthews, Texas, South Carolina. There's some belief on both sides. There's a little confidence on both sides. Texas has never lost confidence there either, though. Caden Protho, if Georgia doesn't win that one, they have issues in this class. They should win that one. Hezzy Kent will be interesting to see. Texas is fighting there. Florida's fighting there. I don't expect it to be Miami. I unless Florida State does something crazy, I'd be surprised if it's not Texas or Florida for Hezzy Kent. So a lot going on. Texas won't get them all. They'll get some of them. And when you look up at the class ranking, you'll say, okay, did we fill our needs? Our class is ranked high. Did we fill our needs? What do we still have going into the fall? That's the way this is going to go in a nutshell. But I think Texas is no date for Felix Ojo. I think Texas continues to do well with Felix Ojo. No date, Tyler Atkinson. I think Texas is right there for Tyler Atkinson. So there's more guys than are on this right here. Those are the scheduled announcements. But Texas won't walk away empty-handed. They're in a lot of these guys. They'll win a few of these guys. They'll lose a few of these guys. And I think people will be happy with the class. At the same time, we'll see if they fill all their needs or what work they have to do in the fall.
All right.
By the way, Roleff said, I just heard more negative things than positive. If you bring in 50 official visitors, you're going to hear more negative than positive.
I would add this, and I wrote this morning, Jerry, and I want to get your take on it. And I think we've entered a new age for Texas football fans in recruiting. And what I mean by that is this. When Texas was a regional recruiting power and dallied in going out of state, just here or there, right? Maybe we'll go get a guy from California or one guy from Colorado or Louisiana or, wherever, right? When Texas did that, Texas was batting probably 60 to 65% on recruits, because Texas, like it or not, if you're A&M and OU, Texas won more than their fair share of those battles. Just bottom line, Texas did and has historically, even in down years at times. So or down eras. When you start going to Florida to compete against Florida and Georgia, or go to Alabama to compete against Alabama and Auburn, when you go to Louisiana to compete against, or North Carolina to compete against teams that are closer to those players, what do you think you're going to continue to bat 60 to 65%?
No chance.
That's right. And so I think that what's happening is people are going to have to reset their brains a little bit. If Texas bats 400, that's George Brett. That's a big deal. And so what I would say to people is part of this is who they're recruiting right now.
Yes.
And it's not just big boy recruiting, it's everywhere. And I want to say this too. Texas has a choice in this matter. I mean, Brandon Harris and Steve Sarkisian and Jeff Banks and Johnny Nansen, all those guys, John Michael Jones, they can go do something different. Okay. They could stay regional, load up on regional kids if they wanted to. Okay. They're saying this way is worth the headache and heartache. Let's go battle Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. They're saying it's worth the headache. So, to Jerry's point, could there be more negative than positive? Well, maybe. Let's see where it all falls. But I think that Texas fans used to getting 60% or so of what they want. I think that number is going to go down to 350 to 400 because of the nature of who you're competing against. You're competing against national caliber programs year in, year.
I mean, look, for instance, Georgia's brought in, I think, 58 official visitors. They have 21 commitments. They're not going to end up with 50% of the guys they brought in. It's just the way it is. You just want to cast a net over the most talented guys that are good fit, by the way, too. But you want to cast the widest net you can, knowing that, okay, we have 6 really good edge prospects, and we're probably going to get 2 of those guys. Then it's up to us to develop those 2 we get. And then there's also the NIL piece. Look, you have to these schools right now are allotting NIL around needs remaining in their class more so than I've seen before. Like, there's some big changes moving right now within these classes, and it's different. That makes it a little different too. Is that okay? Oh, 2 schools have a competitive NIL offer out to player X, and then one school says, "Man, we're lacking at that position. We got to go get this guy," and they just go above it, and you're going to get the guy. And it kind of makes it crazy. It makes it really crazy for people that cover it, but it also kind of makes it fun in a weird way too.
Oh, I think it's happening at defensive tackle right now, Jerry.
Yeah,
Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, look, these are competitive situations. So, fair point.
All right, Bobby, will you tell everyone about Vaughn Lane this morning?
Yeah, get on the bus. When you need to travel between major cities in Texas, you're stuck with 2 really flawed options, at least you have been in the past. Fly and roll the dice with airport delays, security lines, packed terminals, just to spend 45 minutes in the air, or drive and lose 5 hours to traffic, construction, and fatigue, arriving stressed and worn out, or choose the third way, Vaughn Lane. Arrive at a high-end hotel terminal. No airport chaos, 15 minutes before your bus takes off. No parking nightmares, no stress, just a few easy steps and you're boarding. Right now, Vaughn Lane proudly serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, and San Antonio. They're going to the Woodlands now, as well as other parts of Dallas. They've got a North Austin area as well. Visit VaughnLane.com and use promo code OTF25 to save $25 or $20 off your first ride. Vaughn Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. I think this is going to be the way to get to and from Austin on game days, by the way, guys. They have to and froms on the same day. Make sure you check it out. Again, VaughnLane.com, or come in the night before, have a little fun going out on the town.
You're muted, Jerry.
Sorry.
My, how the tables
I'm sorry,
turned.
I muted myself. Happy anniversary, Krista. All right, let's see. I did that for Blake. All right, I think Jay Lee, where was his comment? That was pretty good. Jay Lee says, it's interesting thought. We don't need 2, 3, 5-star receivers in the cycle or 5-star running back. We have used that money on D-line. I do think he's on to a little something with where Texas is targeting some things. And I'll say this. It's a big class of linebackers too for Texas. Texas got it. Texas got to fill linebacker in this class.
All right. Hey, I wanted to bring this up real quick here if I can find it. The chat's moving quick. Brandon Huey said using Vaughn Lane next month for the Astros and A's game, $500 for me and an easy round trip. Not too bad.
Are you going? Yeah. Astros are playing really well. Like, how are the Rangers doing?
I can't even find them on TV, man.
I don't watch a lot. I just check this. The Astros are actually better than I thought they'd be this year. Culture matters. Winning guys.
Culture matters, and they're just piecing it. I mean, they have a never-ending farm system of arms.
Yeah.
I mean, they just keep bringing some new guy up and pitching. Hunter Brown's pitching like a crazy man. So is Valdez is back. I mean, and then they're just piecing everything else together.
Yeah.
We got some super chats real quick. And I also wanted to read this from Josie. He says, happy birthday to my daughter, Gracie, who turns 9 today. Prayers for my card today. Roblox is going to hit it hard. I understand the struggle.
I don't know if Gracie will understand this, but tell her congrats on putting up with Joe for 9 years. I'm on year 2. I can't imagine 9.
Woo. And 24/7.
But she has a lot of ducks though. Those little rubber ducky things.
Oh man. All right. Super chat here, going back to recruiting for a moment, then we'll talk the draft last night. Jerry Longhorn Nation, thank you for your super chat. If Texas lands Ojo and Turntine, does that kill any chance to land Kennedy Brown?
Jerry, that's a year ahead, the kid out of Kingwood.
Yeah, well, and I'll say this: Kennedy Brown's the highest ranked guy, but Kamara at Gilmer and Brian Swanson at South Oak Cliff are every bit as talented. I'm just here to tell you. So I know Kennedy Brown has the highest ranking right now, and he's a really good prospect. But remember, Kamara from Gilmer and Swanson from South Oak Cliff. Those two are as impressive as I've seen in that class. Maybe the most, in a weird way. Brown has the dreamy wingspan, and he's got a very high ceiling, and I think he's going to be a really good player. But it's not a one-man class in state. Kamara and Swanson are studs.
Yeah. All right, congrats to Trey Johnson last night, Jerry. Longhorn now goes number 6 overall to the Washington Wizards. Despite what he maybe wore on the red carpet pre-draft that made Jerry blush. I mean, it's hard to make Jerry. There you go.
I've never seen anybody wear dress jorts before. I didn't even know they made dress jorts. Like, when did that become a thing? And I love Trey Johnson, but dress jorts? I mean,
it's like he went instead of just baggy basketball pants, he went even another half down.
Yeah. I like it.
But no, what do you think? What do you think of Trey Johnson going? And what do you think of the overall in an NBA draft? Because we do have Rockets, Spurs, Mavs fans in here.
I'm excited for I'm excited for Mavs fans. I'm excited for Mavs fans. I think the Spurs continue to build really, really well. Trey Johnson, look, it's a tough franchise to play for, obviously. But it's gonna give him the ability to grow up fast, I think. But this is a guy who has won a state championship at Lake Highlands when people didn't think they could. He did help get Texas to the NCAA tournament when it didn't look good. He was a leading scorer in the SEC. He's not a guy that's used to being in a losing situation. And for a kid that's that competitive, I think it's going to be tough for him. And he's going to score it. I think he's going to have great games. But I think the biggest struggle for Trey is going to be, how do you deal with 20 and 62? Like, guys that are used to winning at such a high level, that can wear on you mentally. So I think that's going to be a big battle for him in Washington, because they're not going to be competitive. There's too many other teams making the right moves and are better situated to be competitive. But it's good. That's going to be a tough thing for him. But I'm so happy for him. And here's the highest drafted players from Texas: LaMarcus Aldridge, obviously from Seagoville, KD from Maryland. I'll always say this: congrats to Russ Springman on recruiting Kevin Durant to Texas. I'll tell you the story real quick on this before we move on. Russ Springman went to Rick Barnes one day and said, I'm recruiting a guy that I think is going to be the best player in America. You need to go see him play. And so Rick Barnes went to an AAU tournament and saw Kevin Durant for the first time and told Russ, I'm not wasting my time recruiting this guy. We have no chance to get this guy from North Carolina and people like that. And congrats to Russ Springman on convincing Rick Barnes that he had the connections because he grew up right by Kevin Durant and forged a relationship to get Kevin Durant. And there's two big reasons Kevin Durant went to Texas. One, Russ Springman was the only coach that put together an academic plan for him. Everything else was basketball. This is why really good recruiting will always matter. Texas, Springman were the only people that put an academic plan together for him to get him through high school because he bounced around the high schools. And I hope Kevin tells a story one day. Kevin had a sub 2.0 or GPA, and he's not a dumb guy at all, at entering his senior year in high school. And this is back when you had to have the 2.5 in the test to match up. And he did everything in front of him to get qualified to go to college. So that just kind of told you how great he wanted to be. Tristan Thompson, obviously Rodney Terry recruited him. Trey Johnson, Rodney Terry recruited him. Mo Bamba, that was a Shaka Smart recruit. LaMarcus Aldridge, obviously, that was went to an Elite Eight with Texas. So the Kevin Durant story is one that I hope he tells one day. But congrats! I will always say congrats to a friend, a guy I consider a friend, Russ Springman, on getting KD to Texas. That's still amazing to me to this day.
All right. Well, let's see here. We got some more super chats to jump over to. And of course, we got plenty of time to take y'all's questions. So be sure to get them in today. Terrell wants to know, do players get a bonus for playoff games? Is this exempt from the cap? Or is this being used as a recruiting tool?
That's interesting. I don't know that answer, Bobby.
They can actually write it into their agreements, but it is not exempt from the cap. Any amount paid by universities to players is not exempt from the cap. I will say this, and I have a little bit of comment here for you guys. I am having a conversation. The Saturday conversation this week is going to be with a guy named Darren Heitner. He is the attorney that is involved in the lawsuit that Wisconsin is filing against Miami. He's representing the player. And as part of that conversation, I'm not going to get super into the Miami versus Wisconsin stuff because I don't really care about that other than what the outcome eventually is. What I do care about is what Darren Heitner, the attorney, is going to say about what are some of the loopholes that he sees in the current cap and bargaining and all this other stuff. What are the next steps that he foresees? What are some of the lawsuits coming down the pike? So that's my plan for the Saturday conversation, is to get more detail, because one of the things Jerry and I can tell you this, other colleges are interested in right now is there are loopholes out there. We don't know them all yet, but there are some people doing it. And I think an attorney that, oversees clients might know some of those. And so we're going to dig in a little bit on that with Darren Heitner this Saturday morning and try to give you guys more information, Terrell, because you cannot, my understanding is you can't pay them bonuses, at least not the school, outside the cap, and any bonuses are considered part of the cap.
And then we got a super chat from Rich Money Cash One. Can you list some fallback options if some of these recruitments don't go Texas way, especially at running back, tight end, and safety?
A little too early for that. They'll stay. Look, if Texas does it, if they miss on some of those guys, they'll stay on some of those guys. We've seen that for multiple years now under Sark. I would also say senior evaluations will be in play there. And Texas will get in on a couple of guys that you don't think right now, as they've done in every class. And I always go back to this. Last year at this time, Justice Terry, Grayson Littleton, and Zealous Hicks were not even really mentioned as realistic possibilities or possibilities at all. So I would say that there's somebody asked about running backs. There's 2 or 3 in-state guys they've looked at. And they evaluate a lot of these guys, right? I mean, they went to see Christian Rhodes at Lake Highland, committed to SMU multiple times, whether that was Tashard Choice or Chad Scott. There's a couple other guys in state. There will be some guys out of state, but a little too early on names, like realistic or real names, other than, hey, this guy got a text or something from Texas just to see where things are at. That's a long way from making a push.
They're gonna put their lines. I talked about running back, for example, Jerry. I mean, let's just talk about running back because it's really clear right now. Texas has one on the board, and he announces tonight at 6. We're going to be covering that, obviously. But say Texas does not get Xavier Crowell. Very real possibility, right? We all know that. Okay, that means Texas has 0 commitments. They're going to do one of 2 things. They're going to reset the board and go look and see if there's somebody that they need that hasn't been uncovered, that brings something to the party that they're unaware of, etc. Okay, so they'll reset the board, and then they'll also see if anybody shakes loose late that they liked. I mean, what happens if another coach leaves or gets fired, etc. Texas will enter that race. Yeah. And they've done it before when other coaches move. And then beyond that, guess what? If that doesn't work, there's this thing called the portal. And
I'll throw another one out there. Reclass. Zealous Hicks reclass. There's going to be some reclasses that start to pop up during the season too. I really believe that. And Texas could work to get somebody to reclass at a certain position.
Good stuff, Jared. I didn't even think about that, but you're 100% right.
Because nobody knew Zealous Hicks was going to reclass right now.
Good point.
I think Texas said, well, he can if he wants to, but that's different than we're actually thinking about doing this, Texas. What do you think about this? Yes, please. Come on.
Same thing might happen at tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
All right. Our next super chat this morning, fellas, comes from Taylor John. And Taylor, thank you for the super chat. Says, enjoyed Sark's interview on 4th and Long. He said after the first year, he knew the culture had to change. The players were selfish, didn't serve anyone but themselves, etc. And now they do.
Yeah, the 3rd and Longhorn that was a great interview. And I want to look, Sark is not, I don't want to say he's a player's coach because I think that can be taken with the wrong connotation. Like, oh, he's, cutting it up with the guys all the time. There should be a level of respect between coach and player. But the coach, the problem with Tom Herman, in my opinion, is he didn't respect the players. So why would they respect him in return? So that's what Steve Sarkisian walked into the first year. And I don't necessarily think Steve Sarkisian's a player's coach. And again, there are positive and negative connotations with that. What I think is he's the right mix. He asked for respect and he tries to give respect. And that's how you change the culture to one where, hey, everybody's working together as opposed to what can I do for myself? And guys, frankly, who do start going that direction, they find themselves weeded out of the program kind of naturally. There was a receiver this past year that did that in the sort of natural way. Okay. I agree with the comment, and I think it's just a little bit different. He's not like, you don't hear people call Sark a player's coach, but he does respect his players. And I think they respect him in part because of that.
I'm going to bring this up, and I hope he doesn't mind me bringing this up. Marcus Myers played at Texas. Herman was just fake. Sark is real. And this goes to what we talk about. And this is one of my biggest things in coaching now. Because of social media and YouTube, if you aren't genuine, anybody can go find anything you've said in the past. And kids are smart. If you aren't genuine now, they read right through it. If a coach is not genuine, he is fighting a real uphill battle these days because I can look up anything this guy said. I can go look up every interview that Coach X has ever done on YouTube if I'm a parent and say, yep, that doesn't match what he told me. That doesn't match what he told me. That doesn't match what he told me. And then you have to face those questions coming right back at you. And then you're in the hot box and you're in trouble.
I want to say this too. And so Sark said a lot of things were messed up, but he didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Sark did not do that. He could have, just bear with me. When Charlie Strong came in, how many guys did he just say, adios, see ya? How many guys did Tom Herman do that with when he came in from Charlie Strong? Okay. Sark didn't necessarily do that. And I think that's part of it too. Within 3 days of being hired, Marcus Meyer says, within 3 days of being hired, Sark did a Zoom and invited all former players to it. Herman never did anything like that. It gives you a sense.
Yeah.
Thanks for participating, Marcus. We got to get lunch next time I'm in town, by the way.
Bobby will buy.
What's that?
I said Bobby will buy.
Oh, I definitely will. I may even buy a beer or two.
You're welcome, Marcus. All right. Speaking of food and Bobby, I need you to tell everyone about our sponsor today, Omaha Steaks.
I have no problem on this one because I love them. Omaha Steaks is having a 4th of July special right now. If you are interested in grilling and chilling on the 4th, it is peak summertime. From handcrafted steaks to family grilling favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience for all of your 4th of July grilling plans. Enjoy USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, and so much more. America's original butcher since 1917, Omaha Steaks is a family-owned company with more than 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. They also carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, and delectable desserts. I told you once, I'll tell it again. The brisket burgers are unbelievable. Get fired up for the 4th of July with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their 4th of July sale. And for an extra $45 off, use promo code ONTEXAS at checkout. That's one word, ONTEXAS at checkout. That's 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com and an extra $45 off with promo code ONTEXAS at checkout. Guys, see site for details. There's not another deal as good as this one. Again, $45 off, promo code ONTEXAS at checkout.
Okay, well, let's move on. We got more to talk about, more questions and super chats as well. And our next super chat comes from D Money Can't Get Money. Says, good morning, OTF. Do you guys have an opinion on Wisconsin suing Miami for tampering? Do y'all think more players will try to enroll to other schools instead of transferring if they're under contract?
That's one of the questions I want to ask him. We were just talking about me talking with Darren Heitner, the agent for the young man being, I don't even think the kid is being sued, by the way. I think Wisconsin is suing Miami. The player is not even in question here, which is interesting because it does, if it gets proven as tampering, then does that player's contract with Miami go kaput? I don't know. But the idea that the transfer portal doesn't even matter, it's just, or could not matter if he just ups and enrolls somewhere else. I mean, I don't know. I don't know all. I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not immersed in NCAA rules, but the end all be all here is to create some level of collective bargaining for players, be they employees or pseudo employees of some sort. I don't know what the answer is. You see now, I think it was Maryland's AD that came out and said, hey, I think that we should allow collective bargaining. You're going to see more and more of that, I think, over time, because they've got to get it to where this is all manageable. Not, it feels like every time the NCAA puts out new rules, it's like the Dutch boy that has to keep poking his holes in different, poking his fingers in different holes to keep the dam from breaking. That's what the NCAA feels like to me. if they get it to collective bargaining, they can just they'll plug the dam once, and then it'll be fine until the next collective bargaining agreement comes in, which is what every other major sports company does or entity.
Yeah. By the way, Jeff Carey, that made me laugh for some reason when I saw it. That was pretty funny. We need to sue the Aggies for the hell of it. One thing I was going to say was the one thing. Look, players' kids should be paid. Y'all know I believe that. But my biggest issue with all of this is there needs to be real contracts with real buyouts. College coaches have to pay buyouts to leave. Right now, there's way too much freedom going on. There has to be guardrails. There needs to be real buyouts because I think that is the biggest thing, maybe the most important thing that can happen moving forward in this whole process. Is look, if you sign a $400,000 NIL deal, a 2-year deal, and in 1 year you want to bounce because somebody else is going to pay you $8. Then you need to pay a buyout, and a real buyout. I mean, that's what happens with college coaches. If they leave, somebody's got to pay their buyout. Maybe it's the college that has to pay the buyout, Bobby, but it can't remain as it is. It's got to change.
I don't necessarily agree with buyouts, but that's there won't have to be buyouts if there's collective bargaining, Jerry.
Yeah.
I think buyouts is just another finger in another hole that sprung a leak.
Our next super chat this morning from Longhorn Frenzy 1. Thank you, Longhorn Frenzy. Says, Jerry, if Texas has to do senior evals at running back, have you seen any kids or heard of any that could possibly be late risers? Thanks. And hook.
Well, there's a couple of backs heading in the senior season. I like the kid at Lake Highlands, committed to SMU. He's a really good player. There's a kid up at New Boston who's a good player. There's a running back in El Paso that's committed to Minnesota that's a good player. Texas has contacted multiple guys, and there'll be a lot of out-of-state guys too, committed elsewhere. A couple of senior-risers, maybe a kid that was injured last year that pops back and has a huge year. Or, again, maybe a reclass guy too. So I don't ever have any question that Texas will fill a need. They've done a really good job filling needs. I'll also say this. I'm going to keep saying that. Saying this. I think James Simon's going to be a really, really good player running back.
Fingers crossed. That would be great. They need somebody because there's questions surrounding Jarrett Gibson, whether he's actually good enough to be a lead guy. And we don't know about Christian Clark, and is he going to be able to stay healthy? So they needed one of the two freshmen, either Simon or Stewart, in my opinion, to be ready to step up. And Jerry, you've been high on Simon from the get-go. And so let's see if that follows through.
All right, next super this morning from F for Fake. Thank you for your super chat. Any theories on the explosion of talent in Georgia over the last several years? They've always produced talent, but it feels far more extensive now.
I think it's the same with multiple states. Is just the people are moving into the Atlanta area. People have moved into DFW in the Houston area. Look, I think it's hurt East Texas football. Families moving to the depth of talent, moving more into DFW, moving more into Houston. That maybe East Texas Golden Triangle doesn't produce as many high-end football prospects as they once did. They still produce a lot of talent, but it's not the same as it was when I first got into this business. And I just think it's the natural population growth. But I'm here to tell you, Georgia's interesting because everybody just focuses on Atlanta and outside of in the greater Atlanta area, which is to me and maybe the most talented area in America right now. I've always maintained that's why Georgia's maybe the best job right now is they have so much talent within an hour and a half of their campus. It's insane. And Clemson did 2.5, 3 hours away, has done great work in this Atlanta area. But South Georgia, Savannah has a lot of talented young kids. I don't know. I was down there last year to see the Walter Mathis, the D lineman that Texas tried to recruit. And I went to a workout, and they had their young kids down there are I mean, they have about 10, 15 kids that are all national guys for me that are 27s, 28s. I think the number one ranked player in the country in 28 is from down there. That people have the number one ranked guy, an edge linebacker kid who looks tremendous. But I think South Georgia's got a ton of talent too, and it kind of bleeds right down into Jacksonville. I mean that area in South Georgia down right across that Florida state line into Jacksonville is just extremely talented. But it's the population boom in Atlanta. It's the population boom in Jacksonville's and Orlando's, and then in DFW, Tampa. You can't even drive. Anybody live in Tampa, you know the traffic's horrendous there. It's not built for that much traffic. But then DFW and Houston too. Those areas have had massive population.
Let me ask you this: has basketball used to be a big sport in Georgia? I'm sure it still is, but has it become less so over the last 10 to 15 years? I mean, it feels like it just feels like it's become a bigger football state. Maybe
No, you're right. Well, I think what Georgia did that was so smart as a state, they copied the Texas UIL, kind of what Texas did. They have the second highest paid high school football coaches in the country. Their facilities are on par with the ones in the best in Texas. A lot of places they have. I mean, they're doing everything correctly to get all those kids into football. I mean, look, when you pay your coaches, I mean, the coach at Carrollton in Georgia, they grabbed from, I think he was at Coastal Carolina, which is the OC maybe. I mean, making $250,000 a year as the head coach. I mean, that means you're paying your staff guys a lot. That means your facilities are off the charts. That means your kids are going to want to play ball. They're seeing a lot of kids get scholarships. And I'll tell you the other thing too, just me, is NIL.
Yeah.
If you're a parent, little Johnny's really talented. You're like, man, look at the NIL money in football. You have to be a elite basketball kid. There's more football kids because of the sport that can make NIL money through.
Oh, yeah, there's 85 spots instead of 15.
Yep.
Just in, and there's more. Frankly, I think there's more football teams that are trying to compete at a national level than basketball teams, even though you include the Villanovas and the Connecticut's in the basketball realm. I mean, there's 10 to 15 schools that are spending a ton of money in basketball, whereas there's probably 40 to 60 in football.
Yep.
With 85 players compared to 15 on a roster.
By the way, John said, I want to be a coach in Georgia. I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you who. This is where it's gone in high school football. The highest paid high school football coach in Texas is, I think, about $335 this year, and deserves every penny of it.
I saw a graphic regarding some of that, and I think you're pretty spot on that. They
deserves every penny of it.
It was some publication that had that out not too long ago. I saw it on X, I believe. All right, here we go. One from Mike Gosnell. Thank you, Mike. He says, good morning, gentlemen. Been thinking about this since we're in decision time for recruits. My question for you guys is, who are some of the biggest recruiting misses by Texas or another school? For me, it's Andrew Luck and Texas.
Well, you take the last 7 years of the MAC era at quarterback, and there's one every class. Bobby, is there one? At the time, here's the crazy one at the time, and it was right when I got into this business. But if today it would have been really blown up, was David Warren, because it was Earl Campbell's nephew, number one ranked player in America out of John Tyler High School. In today's day and age of social media, Bobby, that one would have been a massive one. Now, I'm not sure Texas would have lost him today because he went to FSU in the Bobby Bowden heyday. But that was probably the one that stung Texas fans maybe the most at the time.
I don't know that David Warren is the big miss. I mean, he that's like a whole different era, right? But he was huge because he was related to Earl Campbell.
Same high school, number one in America.
I'm trying to think of one that just hurt. And Adrian Peterson hurt, but we knew he wasn't going to Texas for a good 2 months. Or at least I did. Maybe the public didn't.
Right.
I knew it was an OU A&M battle actually for the last 2 months of that recruitment. I mean, I don't know that there's been this one player. I think I go back and look at it, and I think the bigger issue, to y'all's point, is quarterback recruiting in general. Texas, no offense to Gerard Hurd, okay, a Denton guy, but Patrick Mahomes was in that same class. I mean, Texas didn't even sniff Patrick Mahomes. And the lack of and so that you talk about, I mean, Texas looked at Dak Prescott out of Shreveport and didn't go on him. I mean, I'm not talking about just guys in state like Andrew Luck or that everybody knew about. It's the guys, they just did not hit on a quarterback, and maybe David Ash would have hit instead of Johnny Manziel, for example. If David Ash didn't get hurt. The problem was Johnny Manziel was not evaluated as a quarterback at Texas because they had already got David Ash in the class. So it literally came down for the last scholarship at Texas one year. It was Johnny Manziel as a defensive back or Michael Thompson as a defensive back. And they were going to be the 23rd or 24th player in the class. And Manziel allegedly wanted to go to Texas. Now he's saying it. I think there's a little bit of history changed there. I'm not saying that once he got so good at quarterback, he wasn't going to do it. But that got to remember that was a time when Texas filled up in February before Prospect's senior year. So they went with Michael Thompson, and that's how it happens. I feel like they missed a lot. Manziel was definitely one in my opinion.
I'll tell you what was the biggest one. Somebody brought up in the
Griffin, man, another horrible.
Oh, well, here's one that was wild because people never. I was extremely close to the Kyler Murray recruitment, like extremely. When Charlie Strong, I hate to tell this story, but I will because the chat brought up Kyler Murray. I want to set this up. Calvin Murray is Kyler's uncle. Yes, Kevin played at A&M. There were people around him that didn't think A&M was the best fit for him. People very close to him.
They ended up being right, by the way.
Yes. And when Charlie Strong and that staff are hired, somebody reached out to me and said, like, who's the – and it wasn't somebody with Texas. It was somebody a friend of there and just knew that I was in the national recruiting space. It's like, who's the player that he needs to recruit over there to have success? I said, well, there's a kid at Allen that's unbelievable, like unbelievable. And he would change your program if you got him. They sadly did not contact the Murrays for 100 days after they were hired. So they asked a question and didn't listen to the answer, and they fell way behind. And then they had to, I mean, imagine not contacting the Murrays for 100 days after you're hired. Doesn't make sense. And they fell behind, and they had to try to battle back because I'm here to tell you, Major Applewhite and Darrell White had done a good job on that recruitment up to that point. Texas was in there, very much in there. And there were some people that liked that possibility. But they didn't contact him for 100 days, and they had to try to battle back. They got him. Obviously, people know the story. It wasn't BS. There was real interest there. Then the Johnny Manziel stuff happened, and it just. But to not contact somebody for 100 days was, in recruiting, that's a pretty big sin. After you're hired, you got to know who your guys are. You got to know who the dude is. Oh boy, this is a bad one. The Texas try to recruit Jake Matthews. Am I allowed to tell this story, Bobby?
Yeah. Yes, but I don't want to get people down. This is like a downer.
This one is unbelievable.
Shoot me. Take me outside and.
This one is unbelievable. So I was at Elkins High School And Jake really, I'm not saying Jake would have gone to Texas, but he did really like Texas. And Bruce Matthews was the guy who did the film for all them, just so he's involved with the program, right? He wasn't a coach on staff. But he was really close to the head coach at Elkins. And I was at Elkins one day, and I was just talking to the coach in the office before practice. I was like, kind of where things at with him, blah, blah, blah. And we went through schools, and then I said, what about Texas? Well, he said, well, they got an uphill battle. And I was like, what? Why is that? And they were like, well, the coach who came through here was watching film with him and said, he looks a little stiff, doesn't he? And 20 minutes later, I walk outside. They're getting ready for practice, and Jake Matthews is doing the splits. I don't think that went over too well with Bruce. Your son looks a little stiff, and he's out there doing the splits.
Oh, man.
That one wasn't smart either.
There were 10 years of that we dealt with behind the scenes. I'm just going to put that. So when we have trauma, PTSD over this stuff, there's some reasons. I'm just going to put that out there.
All right, fellas, I got to tell everyone about Huel. Summer doesn't slow down, and neither should your nutrition. Huel Black Edition Ready to Drink is a complete meal that's ready when you are. You can toss it in your bag, hit the road, and fuel up without missing a beat. And their Ready to Drink is a total game changer. It's a perfectly balanced meal that'll save you time. It'll save you money, too. It tastes good, and it's good for you. With 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar, you're going to feel full, focused, and ready for your day, no matter what it may throw at you. Now, Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use promo code ONTexas. And since it's summer, I'm busy. I'm being pulled in 10 different ways at any given time, so I don't always have time to get a good meal in me. That's why I rely on Huel. They save me time. They save me money. No prep, no cleanup. Just grab it and go. So start saving your own time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% off plus a free gift when you use promo code ONTexas at Huel.com. That's promo code ONTexas at Huel, Huel.com. Please see the description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled. All right. Well, we have had a lot of people join us right here on Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. And a lot of them may have missed some of the announcement news that you talked about at the beginning, Jerry. So I'm going to let you rehash that.
Yeah, if you bring up the graphic for us again, I'll go through this again real quick. We got Xavier Crowell today. Look, we've been consistent in saying Bama's the team to beat. Sarkisian's personally involved in the recruitment. As of 8:15 this morning, he has not informed schools what he was going to do, which I think is smart. I wouldn't either. I would call them 10 minutes before I announce, honestly. I know people disagree with that, but if you ever want to keep your commitment under your hat, that's the way to do it in this business. If you call everybody night before the morning of, it's going to get out, and you won't have an announcement. Chase Calicut, Texas is all in on Xavier Crowell. Texas has done everything they can on Crowell. If he picks Alabama, then you tip your cap. Chase Calicut, been a little more Georgia than Texas talk. We'll see which way that goes tomorrow. Malachi Lee, I think more Michigan than Texas. Had conversations with Texas last night. We'll see if there's more today. Damari Simeon trending away. After that one looked good for a while. James Johnson on the 28th. I know there's picks in for Georgia. Texas talk. There's been multiple conversations yesterday. That one will keep going. You don't give up on these really good players. These recruitments are through the whistle. Xavier Griffin on the 29th. I got to hit my cough button real quick. Continue to hear some positive things there. We'll see. Alabama's going to be fighting it out for Xavier Griffin, Ohio State, FSU, the other two. Then we get into those July 2nd announcements. Kendall Gerville, I still hear good things there. Trenton Henderson, I think Florida's the favorite there. And things could happen before that could affect that one potentially. Kosio Paula on July 2nd. I think Texas is in a pretty good spot there. Bryce Perry Wright, we haven't expected that one since Richard Wesley committed to Texas. Turntine feels like Texas, Michigan still. I hear some positives there, but there's some in Michigan that think they have a shot too. Caden Finley, Notre Dame, Texas. Jalen Lott, we don't expect. Lamar Brown, that matter where he commits. That's a December deal. Jamarian Carlton, I think Texas is a pretty good spot. Smoke Matthews is Texas, South Carolina battle. And I think there's confidence on both sides. They're a long way out with that one, but Texas has never lost confidence there. Caden Prothro, if Georgia doesn't win that, they're just going to throw their hands up in this cycle, even though they're going to have a great class. Florida, Texas are 2 and 3 there. Hezzy Kent, kind of a wild card right now, but Texas still going after him. Tyler Atkinson not on the board because he didn't have a date yet, but Texas is in that one. Devon Benjamin feels a little bit like Oregon over Texas. Now, I think he's not announcing till maybe August or September, so that one could play out a while if that remains the case. So we don't even put him on the board for a while if that remains the case. And then there's going to be Felix Ojo hadn't announced the date yet, but I still think Texas is doing pretty well there.
Almost muted myself. Caught it in time. All right, thank you, Jerry. Some more super chats this morning. This one from UT Tyler Guy. What's an idea you have that could bolster the in-game experience and get the crowd going nuts? I love the drones, the LED lights, but what else would you do?
I don't really have. I mean, man, I'm not that creative type when it comes to in-game experience. I love like I'm old school. I like Texas fight in the stadium more. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff I like. I don't have anybody, Jerry, Blake, either of you. Blake,
I put mine in the chat.
Have one.
I put mine in the chat.
Gary's Manscaped reads at halftime.
On the PA, that would be fun.
Yeah. That would be funny.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like it's tough because you can't really do like what an NBA game does, right? You can't bring out the mini tramps and guys are dunking on rims during timeouts or flying through the air. You could, they could fly over the goalpost or something. But there's not. I don't know. I'm not sure I really have that answer. I mean, it's like NBA games. You can bring out guys on the unicycles and do all that crazy stuff. You can't really do that on a football field.
I got one.
Yes.
I don't know about getting the crowd going nuts, but that would help the game experience. And maybe they already have this, and I just don't know. But like when you go to the Ranger games or a lot of baseball games, even high school games now, you get the app and they bring the food right to your seat, and you just pay for it that way. That would be my improvement for sure, because I hate waiting in those lines.
You can't do it to 100,000 people. I mean, that's why they have suites. People pay for that. I mean, look, at the same time, if I saw, like, no offense, but if I saw people jumping over a field goal post, that's not football to me.
I got one.
It doesn't get me, like, I don't want football to be a basketball game experience. I don't know.
I've got one.
What you got?
Easy one, Bobby. Pick 2 students in 2 different quarters during a timeout to race in the 40. People love 40-yard dashes.
Oh, I do like that. What is that one that they do in baseball where the flash? Yeah, the guy runs the 400-yard dash or whatever or something like that, and he gives the person in the stands a 100-yard head start. And I would go for that, especially some student going up and doing that.
Yeah, like two students racing in the 40, and the winner gets, I don't know, lunch with Sark.
Yeah, there you go. That's fun. That's fun. That's better. That's better than kicking the field goal when, no offense, the field goal doesn't, it's not always the nicest.
What we could do, we could copy the Big 12 championship and bring out the Dr. Pepper thing and have DJ Ukulele see if he could hit the ball inside it every Saturday. How many would DJ Ukulele miss from 20 yards?
He should just go around to every college and
that's the way he's going to make money from here on out.
NIL money doing that.
Make it an inaccuracy contest as your career.
Y'all's comments in the chat are off the rails. Not putting those up on the screen. Next super chat here from David Parcell. What happened to Derek Cooper?
Didn't materialize. I mean, Texas went to see him in May. Had him on campus once, and it just one that we'll see if they revisit during senior season. But just not one that really materialized. They wanted a weekend official visit. Texas likes the weekend official visits. I think they feel like if it's a midweek official visit with a kid like that, if he's not willing to shuffle around any OV date, then kind of tells you where you stand.
And then
hey, Jerry, he sounds like he's off to Ohio State right now and not Miami, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know on that one. I've kind of left that one alone. But I mean, look, that's what was like James Johnson. It took Texas a while to get James Johnson into the weekend official visit. He had to move it around. He had to cancel somebody. And by him doing that, obviously, that showed a lot about Texas feeling like where they're at. And now they're right there in the final two.
And then one other super chat, more of a comment than a question from Joshy Manning. He says, watching today's OTF with Joshy Manning, ESQ Jr.
That's awesome.
We mentioned it. We mentioned you earlier right at the outset, Josh. Make sure you hear that. Go back and listen to it again. Hey, number 65 days out.
Yes.
Blake. Jake Majors.
Yep.
The former Longhorn, now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, is a number 65. I'm going back a while and dating myself here, but Omar Saleh, who played interior offensive line for the Longhorns, he was number 65, pretty good player. He actually, interesting story about Saleh. He, I think, was the first person to play for the Longhorns that was born in Kuwait and moved to the States.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but ended up being a multi-year starter for the Longhorns. But Jake Majors has played the most games of any Longhorn ever. And so I think that Jake Majors is officially your number 65 as we're 65 days out. Hopefully, we have a number 64 that joins us on the show tomorrow morning, by the way. So that's a little preview or a sneak peek into tomorrow's show. Hopefully, we have a number 64 that joins us.
All right, more questions this morning, and let's take this one from Low JN. I hope I'm saying that right. Can y'all talk about sleeper teams for this year? I say watch out for Nebraska.
Break out that strength of schedule graphic. See who's in there. But I think this would be a good time if we have it. But Blake made a great strength. Who has the strength of schedule in college football this year? And this could lead us to a sleeper team as well. Strength of schedule, Oklahoma hardest, which I agree with. Florida 2, agree with that. Arkansas, yeah. Wisconsin 4, boy, that's tough to see. Vanderbilt 5. There you see Texas at 12. What was Texas last year? 32?
Somewhere right around there.
With road games at Georgia, Florida, and Ohio State. Obviously more so than I think even Michigan last year. But the strength of schedule. Is there, Bobby, does that bring out a sleeper team for you? I mean, through strength of schedule at all? Or if there's a sleeper team this year in college football, boy, poor Kentucky.
Let me ask you this. In your opinion, are Oklahoma, Florida, and A&M considered sleeper teams? I mean, if they are.
No.
Okay. Then I'm going to say Ole Miss. And the reason I say Ole Miss is if they lose a lot, but I think they had more in the cupboard than maybe people give them credit for.
I'll tell you who has a good one. Isaiah Stewart, Georgia Tech. That Haynes King is
their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Georgia kept their offensive coordinator, which I think was huge.
And Haynes King is a really good fit with what they do. He's a culture quarterback for them. The running back is really good. They're out going to miss Singleton at wideout. Blake Gideon, first year as a DC too. How does that factor in? First year calling it for Georgia Tech, but that's a good one. People are saying Illinois or Indiana on here as well. Somebody's asking where Carter Wiegman went, by the way. He's at U of H. But I don't know if Clemson's a sleeper. I don't think South Carolina's a sleeper. But I like Georgia Tech a little bit because, man, do they have an experienced quarterback that fits their system and fits their culture, and a running back that's really good. Louisville, the Blake says Louisville out there.
Yep.
Is there a Big 12 school? Is Texas Tech a sleeper?
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be based on all the money they spent in the portal. But maybe they will be. I don't know.
I don't think there's an ASU this year that's going from 3-9 to the playoff. I'll say that. Like that was really rare. I could be wrong.
Anybody get an underrated quarterback in your opinion, Jerry? In the
Indiana, I think Mendoza's really good, but is Indiana not really a sleeper? They make the playoff list. Smooth.
It's hard to say Alabama's a sleeper though. I mean, look, they've been one of the best programs in college football the last 20 years, if not they've been the best. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't consider Alabama, even though they had an off year last year, as a sleeper. Now, I will say this: Alabama absolutely has to get better quarterback play this year. I mean, you can say what you want about Jalen Milroe, but he just wasn't. He's not a fit for what they're doing, you know. And so I feel like when we look at it that way, in that direction, I'm not sure Ty Simpson is it. I don't know that any of those guys are it for them. So I think we may still be a year away at Alabama. Smooth. Just my opinion.
All right, Bobby, tell us about Vaughn Lane one last time, please. Sir.
Yeah, absolutely will do. Tired of the hassle of flying or driving in Texas? Driving yourself on I-35, I-45, or I-10 is stressful. Airports, long lines, security stress, cramped seats. Next time you need to travel between Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, skip the stress and ride Vaughn Lane, your private jet on wheels. Arrive just minutes before your departure at one of Vaughn Lane's centrally located luxurious hotel partners. Settle into your spacious reclining seat with tons of legroom and personal space. Enjoy complimentary snacks, drinks, Wi-Fi, and even meals on select departures, all while you sit back and relax. Experience travel the way it should be, hassle-free. Visit VaughnLane.com and use promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Vaughn Lane, first-class travel without the hassle. Enjoy your trip. Don't be worried about it the whole time.
Good stuff. All right,
by the way, the original question, Nebraska, they have a good schedule. If Raiola becomes a dude, they have a pretty good schedule to make a little run.
Baylor might be a sleeper. They've got a good quarterback right now. Is TCU a sleeper? They've got a quarterback.
I think it takes a few years to recover from 65-7 in a national title game, but that's just me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that one leaves
it did leave a mark.
It leaves a mark for about 6 years.
I know it did. Hey, it did. I'll tell you one that was similar to that left the mark when Texas got boat raced by Miami in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
That left the mark.
Or is anybody going to mention North Carolina?
No.
First female GM in college football history, right?
I knew you were going there. All right, guys, we're going to close with this big super chat from Eric Mitchell. Thank you, Eric. We really appreciate that. He says, good morning, gentlemen. As all, Bobby's got the big hat on. I'm going to put Bobby on screen while I read it. Oh, and Jerry. I need a split screen view with just y'all two. As always, thanks for everything y'all do week in and week out. Hook 'em. With Crimpin and Roseboro in the boat at Texas 8-4 or A&M, does that help the focus required to really hone in on Ojo and turn time like they're wanting to see from Texas and Sark?
Does it help, Jerry? Or I think Texas has been focused in on those guys. There's a reason Crimpin and Roseboro went elsewhere. Both those guys were leaning to Texas. I mean, I'm not taking a win away from A&M here, by the way. I think that Texas had guys higher on their board than those two. And ultimately, when somebody wants to pay more because they're not as high on the board, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
What I want to say is high on the board maybe versus other position that allotment.
Yes. It just makes sense.
And by the way, and I want to say this, I always say this. I think Roseburg is going to be a stud player. I don't care where these kids go to school. Big fan of his as a player and a dude. That was I really enjoyed sitting down and getting to know him and interviewing him at Clearwater in May, and then watching him in person plus the tape. I like him a lot.
Good stuff. All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. We want to thank them along with Huel and Omaha Steaks for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you for tuning in, for the great questions, the super chats. Don't forget, head on over to ontexasfootball.com and use promo code OTFOG when you sign up. First-time members, you can get a full year for just $39.95. That's a limited deal, but only if you use promo code OTFOG. And Bobby, what do you have later today right here on the YouTube channel?
Well, I mean, we got a bunch of different stuff going on. Football theories coming up. Rod and CJ and Coach Shipley. Oh, well, Coach Shipley's out this week. So Jeff House sitting in for him on Thursday at the winning drive. We also are going to try to track the Xavier Crowell announcement. And then Jerry and I are also on the message boards as well as CJ and Jeff with any kind of recruiting nugget. We dropped some nuggets there yesterday that got a lot of play. So we'll be on the lookout for that sort of stuff all day long. Again, we have a bunch of commitments coming up. I think 5 in the next 3 days now, starting tonight at 6 o'clock with Xavier Crowell.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be back tomorrow. Hope you all have a great day. And for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.